the one, the only, Ben
Morning and welcome to YouTube Just Daf It as we continue with Gittin Daf Yomi, a new Daf Nun Beis, number 52, a new subject to talk about. It's a pretty important topic to talk about. It talks about, let's say you have people, the father died or the parents died, and now they're orphans. They're young, either they're under bar mitzvah or bar mitzvah, but you appoint an administrator in order to, you left the trust fund for them, and they're not responsible enough to make their own purchases, to manage the estate. So either the father or based in appoint an apotropos, appoints an administrator. What rights the administrator have? They have to take a shvur or not. We'll talk about it. The Mishnah says so much as some plates of alabayas. Let's say orphans, they didn't have an apotropos. There was no administrator appointed, but they're staying, right? Oftentimes when a father would die, the kids are young. Someone will do a chesed. Another family or another father will take them into his house, and then they'll basically treat them as a father. So that's the same thing as having apotropos. Or the father took it in his own hands. He appointed someone to be an administrator for the money, the estate that the orphans now own. He has to take up Shumas and Maisros because someone has to take up Shumas and Maisros. He takes it off. When the children become of age, where they're able, let's say 18 years old, they're able to manage their own real estate, so by themselves. So does the apotropos have to take a shvua that he didn't take any of the money for himself? So according to the Tanakam, if the father appoints the administrator, he has to take a shvua. But if Beis Din appoints the administrator, he doesn't take a shvua. Abba Shalom is the exact opposite. That apotropos of Beis Din has to take a shvua. The father does not take a shvua. The Gemara will explain this machlokas. We happen to paskin like Abba Shol. The Gemara says, Raminahu. We have a question from our Bryce on our Mishnah. Right? The fact that the Mishnah says that apotropos takes off Shumas and Maisros. Atem is in the Parsha of Shumas and Maisros. It's also the Levium taking off. When they get Maisha, they take off Shumas and Maisros. Atem, velo shutvim. The Gemara, the Bryce darshans, you and not your partners. Atem velo arisin. You take it off and not your sharecroppers. Atem velo apotropin. You and not people who are administrators of your estate. Anyone take a shumos ma'ishos, something that does not belong to him. So you see, included in this price as an apotropos, he can't take up shumos ma'ishos. If he's taking up shumos ma'ishos off of the produce that he wants they should have what to eat, right? Then he's allowed to do that. But if he's just doing it for the long term, something that's going to be stored away, extra produce, which they can store away, maybe sell at a later time, that he has no power to do that. Tanya, Bryce supports apotropin tormin masrin lechachachiv lalahaniach. Apotropin are allowed to do this as long as it's being used, the produce is being used to eat right now and not to leave over for later. They're also allowed to sell the property of this day, animals, slaves, maidservants, houses, fields, vineyards. Allowed to sell these things as long as they need the money. There's nothing to eat. There's no bread on the table. They can sell these things so they have money to buy. They have liquid cash to buy food. But not la'aniach, not to build up in the bank account. Same thing with selling fruits and wines and oils and flour. Again, it's only that they should have bread on the table. They also have lulav, arava, sukkah, they're also allowed to purchase for them a lulav and arava, the last day of sukkah, with sukkah, to build a sukkah, and to tzitzis, kids, anything which has a set amount of money, lasui, shofar, even a shofar, where usually the shliach tzibur is motzi people in a shofar, that's considered a mitzvah that would be necessary if they know how to blow a shofar. Mitzvah bo yosem mishlucha, v'lochen lahem sefer Torah, tefillah mezuzah, if they need a sefer Torah, even sefer Torah, which you could be yotzei, again, mitzvah bo yosem mishlucha, so therefore you can buy for them tefillah mezuzos, chol davar sheyesh lo kitzvah, anything that has a set amount, lasui megillah, even in a megillah, Esther, they're allowed to buy for them, even though it's quite expensive. Ein poskin aleim tzedakah. However, you cannot give tzedakah from the estate on account of them. Ein podin aleim as a shvu, and you can't use their money to redeem a captive. Below kol davar she'ein lo kitzvah, anything which, right, these things can not have a set amount of money. It could be, right, there's no fixed amount for pidyon shvuyim. It depends on the ransom. Or lasuyeh, the ransom that they set. Lasuyeh tanchumei avail, even going to comfort mourners, right? You want to get them a consolation present. You want to buy them food. You're not allowed to do that. They can't litigate, right? to protect their property, and not even to litigate to gain, to win a monetary case. So then where's the Lazakos and Milo? Why can't they litigate on behalf of them, right? Someone damaged their property, their estate. Why can't they litigate on behalf of them to earn money? Ella Lachov Manas Lazakos. It's talking about Lachov Manas Lazakos. This questionable what this means over here. If you look in Rashi, and the article explains it this way. Ella Hagigam, Rashi and Rashain Lodun Lachov Manas Lazakos, Im Danu Kidei Lazakos, and Ischaivu, Ena Yisom Nusadin. The way article translates it, they're litigants, right? They bring a lawsuit against someone who damaged the estate, and they lose. If they win, so they won, and they someone get the money. If they didn't win, so the court case is thrown out, and when they get older, they get another chance. The children get a chance to litigate on for themselves. It's very hard to understand this. Why would anyone want to get into a court case with them, right? Because they can only win if they, even if they're proven innocent, right? These people, they have to go for another court case, and that's not what the word lachuv manas lazakos doesn't mean. That lachuv means, right, in order to lose money, amanas lazakos. I have a different interpretation of this, and I'll talk about that in Ian with Ben Sion, and it has proof in the rest of the Gemara we'll do today. They can't sell, even have real estate which is far away, and they want to buy real estate which is closer to where they're living, so they can manage it easier. They want to sell a bad field, bad real estate, right? To buy better real estate, my time, because maybe the other real estate that they buy, right, a wind will come and it'll be ruined by an unfortunate circumstance. They can't be responsible. They also can't sell real estate and buy slaves, because real estate is worth more. It goes up more in value. Avadim, the older they get, they go down in value. You can sell avadim, right, and buy sados. Sados is a better investment. He says even you can't do that. And we pass like this. My time, because maybe the fields won't produce as, right. Normally a field is worth more because it grows more fruits if it's an actual field, or a house or real estate. It goes up in value. Sometimes real estate goes down in value, right? So therefore, it might not be the best investment. They can't free the slaves. They could sell it to other people because cash is better than avadim. The other people could free them. Rabbi Omer Ani, and Evid could pay if he has his own money. He could free himself because again they have cash, which is better than avadim. He's selling it to them. When they become 18 years of age, right? So now they're in control of their own estate, the Yisomim, the orphans. So they have to basically go ahead and tell the Abutrop and tell them what they spent their money on and how they manage the estate. Well, they have to take a shvur. Now that's the subject of the Mishnah. We'll talk about that later. Shimon says you don't have to. When you're making an apatrapa is for your children, you shouldn't appoint a woman or a slave or minors. They mean an obvious only, but if the father did, I would just be other. Technically, the evidence works. However, there was a certain administrator who was in the town of a mayor. He would sell land and he would buy a vadim. A mayor didn't allow him, like we just learned. You're not allowed to do that. Real estate goes up in value more than a vadim. They showed him in his dream. A mayor saw in his dream. Hashem is speaking. I want to destroy their estate. And you're trying to build it. Rameir ignored the dream. We don't trust chalomos, right? They don't have a positive effect or a negative effect. Hanu Beitrade the Igri Behu Satan. There were certain two people that the Satan, the Kobe Shimshi Havu Kaminzi, every Friday night they get into fights. I've seen this outside the window of my room. Sometimes people from one of the yeshivas here come and they fight each other on Friday night. I guess that's their oneg shop. The Iklar Rameir Lahasam. Rameir wanted to stop it. He stopped it 3 Friday nights in a row until they made peace. Shamei the Kamar Vaida Afkir Rameir. Afkir Rameir Lahu Gabra Mibese. Rameir apparently heard or he saw in a dream that the Malach Hamavis, the Satan, was angry that he removed the Satan from that house, from that place. There was a certain administrator in the town of Rishu and Levi. The Hava Kamaz ben Arav is Aventuri. He would sell land and he would buy oxen. V'lo amrle v'lo midi. He didn't say anything. Technically, according to the strict halacha, this should be forbidden. Savar like Rabbi Yossi. Rishon ben Levi held like Rabbi Yossi. The Tanya Amar Rabbi Yossi. Yami lo karicha li ishti ishti. I never call my wife my wife. L'shori shori. I never call my ox my ox. I ishti base. I called my wife my house. L'shori sadai. Right? I called my ox my field because the ox is what plows the field. So he equated an ox to a field. So to sell a field for another field technically would be okay. Hanu Yasme, the Habu Smichi Gabi Ahi Safta. There were certain orphans. There was no administrator, but they were taken in by another family, an elderly woman. Havu Torsa. They had a young calf. Shakla Vizavinta. She took it and she held it in the Alayu on behalf of them. Asu Krov and the Kamei Rav Nachman. The relatives of these orphans came to Rav Nachman. Amrle Maya Vitte the Zavna. They wanted to know, how could she sell this? It belonged to them. Our Mishnah says that doesn't have to be apatrapis, even if the children are taken in by another family, they have the right to sell their property. So the Gemara says, they continued asking, it went up in value. After the person bought it, the price for oxen went up. I care. The Gemara says, I care, it went up, but they had not yet actually paid for it. They did not give it money for it. Amar lo imkein hainu Rav Chanina bar Idi Amar Shmuel Amar Rav Chanina bar Idi Amar Shmuel nichse yisomim harein kehektish. Right, we treat yisomim's property. We give it the stringency of hektish, not all the chumras of hektish. We give it the stringency. We do the best for them. Velo makni ela bekaspa, and therefore, since they didn't get money for it yet, they're allowed to invalidate the deal. Even because it went up, they're going to want to invalidate the deal. They can do that because we treat it like hektish. Hektish only is transferred now with mashicha. Normally, metaltalin, right, movable objects are acquired just by mashicha, by moving them. Kesef, we hold, doesn't work. At least in the Rabbanan it doesn't work. It's machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. In the Rabbanan it doesn't work according to everybody. But hektish definitely works with kesef. And also in a kesef account, mashicha does not work. So all it is mashicha. The kesef was not given over, so you can invalidate the sale because we treat nechsei someone like hektish. Chamri deravna ukva yasma mashchua ba'arba arba v'yaker v'kam b'shisa. The wine of Ravna ukva yasma. He was a yasal. Apparently, they sold it for him by $4 a bottle. 4 coins a bottle. Vayaker v'kam b'shisa. Right? The person who bought it just did mashicha. But by the time he wanted to give the money, right, it was already worth $6 a bottle. She said, "Asuk made Rav Nachman lu hayin Rav Chanina bar Idi Amar Rav Chanina bar Idi Amar Shmuel nichse yisam rei ge'ektiv lo makni el bekaspa." Since he didn't give the money yet, so therefore the sale, you can invalidate the sale, or you could buy it for the higher price of $6 a bottle. Mashoch piri miasme aiker hainu de Rav Chanina bar Idi. If you sold fruits of the yisomim, and the person who bought it just in Mashicha, and they went up in value. That's the statement of Chanil Bar Ide. It's like hektish, you can validate. Zol, let's say you sold sold fruits and it went down in value. Right? The person did Mashicha. So, even though technically we said it, we give the stringencies of hektish, right, in favor of the Yisomim, in favor of the orphans, but we're not going to give them the chumras of hektish the other way. So, in terms of when it goes down in value, we can treat the Mashicha like a hedyot. The Mashiach works, so therefore they were kona at the higher price. They don't get the purchaser does not get to invalidate the sale. Zol savar minaya hainu derav Chanina bar Idi. Let's say, so it went down in value. They thought that was the halacha of Chanina bar Idi. Amar Shisha Brei Rav Idi. Harahil. Now this case is talking, what is this case talking about? This case is talking about the previous case is talking Shihulu Piri Liasme Iker. This is talking about. I'm sorry, I skipped a line over here. Amshichaluhu Piri Liasme. Now it's a case where the Yisomim are buying the fruits. Ayakir, right? If it goes up in value, they only did Mashicha, they didn't give Kesef. They get it for the price of Mashicha. Because again, it works both ways. We go in both directions. Whatever is better for them, Kesef or Mashicha. Zol, however, if they bought it, they bought payrolls from somebody and went down in value. We thought it's like Rav Chanila Bar Idi says that you go after Hektish, and Hektish is only going with Kesef. They only did Mashicha. So now they get the lower price when they give Kesef. So the Gemara says, no, it's not a good thing that we treat it like a hektish in this instance. Right? If they're going to go ahead and invalidate the sale, right? They want it at the lower price. No one's going to sell them fruits. People, if they don't go after what normal people go after, the mashicha, right? And now the seller is going to lose out. No one's going to want to sell them things because they do a mashicha and they can do whatever they want, and it goes down in value, right? If it goes up in value, they're mashichas and mashiach. But they're not in value, then they say they don't want it. So no one's going to sell them fruits, so therefore we have to let the deal go through. Yahweh Yasme Zuzi Apiri. Let's say the Yisomim, instead of doing mashicha, they pay with kesef, with money for fruits. Zol, right? If it goes down, lo yikach hedyot chamarim and hektish, right? So normally regular people go with mashicha. So therefore, they could also tie it. We go with Mashiach, even though we gave money for it. We didn't do Mashiach yet, so therefore, we want the lower price. So Yakir, however, if they gave money, it went up in price. They thought that the halakha should be like Rav Chanila Bar Iti, and therefore they gave money at a lower price. They get the lower price. I don't know if you should Rav Iti. No, how Ra'yili to do it? We can't follow Rav Chanila Bar Iti over here. It's a bad for them. Why? On top of Nun Beis and Beis, the Asal Meimar Lehu Nishafu Chitecha Ba'aliyah. Right? If we say that that they gave money and they should get it at the lower price, right? So the people who are selling it to them, they're not going to be careful to. They haven't done a mashiach yet. I mean, it's still in the property of the seller. They won't be careful. A fire could go and burn it, and they'll let it burn, and they're not going to get anything. So therefore, we don't invoke the din of Rav Chanil Bar Idi over here. Let's say the fourth case, people gave money to the Yisomim. They didn't do Mashiach. They gave money for fruits. Ayakir, right? The fruits went up in value after the transaction. Lo yehei again, right? They can invalidate the sale because you go in both ways. It's a cooler for them. So therefore, you can go after Mashiach, and therefore, Kesef does not work. And Mashiach, and they get the higher price. Zol, it goes down in value. So we should say like Rav Chanil Bar Idi over there. That you go after the din of hektish, right? They gave money to the Yisomim, so they should get the higher price. No, harahu l'gedidu. We don't invoke Rav Chanila Bar Idi over here. Why not? If this is what's going to go on, right? They gave money to the Yisomim. So no one's going to give them money anymore. They're not going to. It's going to be harder to make transactions to get the money for them because people are going to make sure that the transaction is done with the Mashicha and the Kesef. So it's going to be harder for them to get food. So we don't invoke Rav Chanila Bar Idi over here. Amar Rav Ashi, Anu Rav Kahana, Chasmina Nashtara the Ime de Zeira Yasma. We signed on a document of the mother of Zeira Yasma. She was the mother of Zeira, who was Yasam. She was managing his estate. Right? Technically, according to the Torah, right, the son inherits from his father, not the wife. She gets fed from the estate, but the inheritance goes to the son. The Bazavna Ara Lakarga, she would go ahead and sell some of the land from the estate so they could pay the head tax for her son. Below Achrasta, she would not go. Normally, when you sell land, you have to go put it on the market. You have to make, people aware of it for 60 days, like Gemara says in Ksuba, so people should be aware. More buyers should come and drive the price up. The Amrinar Dai, the Kargil, Mazoni, Lakfura, Mazbina, Balachrasa, in 3 cases to pay for head tax. You don't want the government on your back, or Mazone, or you need food right away, or to bury someone, to buy a burial plot. you can sell land even without a hachraza, even without hachraza for 30 days or 60 days, whatever the Gemara says. Amram Seva Abutrapa the Asmehava. Amram, who was a dyer, he dyed wool for his living. He was an administrator for Yisrael Mahava. Azu Krovim Lekameder of Nachman Amrle Kalavish Umixi Miyasmi. He's taking money and he's buying fancy clothes for himself from the estate of the Yisrael. Amrle Yechid Lishdaman Mili. He said it's justifiable what he's doing because he wants to look better. So therefore, when he comes to court and litigates on behalf of them, people will treat him with more respect and they'll be able to win more court cases. So they persist. He's eating and drinking fancy food from their estate. Right? We know he's not a rich person, and we know he's probably taking it from the estate. So he said he was down the cops. Maybe he found money in the street, and that's where he's using it from. Maybe he's not taking. So the word is v'haka mafsid, but he's actually ruining the land of the Yisrael. We see him ruining it. If you can bring me witnesses, I can't just trust your word. You bring me two witnesses that he's ruining the land, he's cutting down the trees, ruining the land. Then I'll remove him as Abatrapis. Rav Huna Chavrin Mishmei Rav. Rav Huna, our friend, saying the name of Rav. Abatrapis the Mafsid Misalkinan Le. We remove him. Tietmar Abatrapis the Mafsid Rav Huna Rav Misalkinan Le. Debay Rabbi Shela Amri Lo Misalkinan Le. Hilchazam Misalkinan Le. Even though it's a machlokas, we paskin like Rav that you do remove him. Abatrapis Shemino Av Yesom Yeshava. My time. The Tanakhama says that Abatrapis that the father appointed, he has to take a shvu when he leaves. That he didn't take anything for himself. It's my time. Right? The reason he's agreeing to be an administrator for the orphans, for free basically, is because obviously the father benefited in some way. It's a quid pro quo. And therefore, because we make him take a shvu at the end, he still will become administrators because they're doing it as a favor to the father. So we can make it, we'd rather than take a shvu, we just don't, we want to make sure that there's administrators available, so therefore it's not going to hinder administrators from taking on the job, so we can make him take a shvuah. Mineo basin lo yishava. Tanakama says basin, you can't really take a shvuah. Milsa ba'almo da'abit lebeidina. Usually the apotropos is doing a favor for the basin. If we're going to make him take a shvuah, no one's going to want to be an administrator on behalf of the basin. Abashol says the opposite. My time, mineo basin yishava. Right? If basin makes the apotropos and he takes a shvuah, but yeah, no, the kanafik Allah kala dinish mehemnahu. There is a benefit for him by becoming an administrator on behalf of Beis Din, because people think of this guy as a reputable guy. Beis Din trusts him. They trust him. Therefore, the fact that they take a shvuah at the end, they're not going to want. There's going to be no dearth of administrators. Remember, the father Yisomim appointed him. Lo yeshava. We can't make it a shvuah. Milsa ba'almahu da'avdil. We don't assume it's a quid pro quo. He did a favor for the father. You're not going to have administrators. That the father, if the father appointed him, not take a shvuah, based on take a shvuah. He argues on Abashol and on the Tanakam. He says in both cases he take a shvuah. And the Bryce says Allah is like his words. Tani Rav Tachlifa Bar Marag made Rav Yavo Apotropos Shemini Avi Yisomim Yishaba. He has in a brisa that the father appointed them to take a shvuah because he's getting paid. He's getting paid to be the apotropos. So therefore, he has to take a shvuah. Who says he's getting paid? Right? You're bringing a measure of money and you're finishing by giving it to him. It's not because he's actually getting paid. It's because he's getting paid, meaning the fact that he's doing this, he's paying him back, right? He got paid from the father. The father did a favor for him, so therefore, quid pro quo, he's doing a favor for the father and being an apotropos. So therefore, you can let him take a shvuah because, like we said before, the law according to Danakama, the apotropos of the father is not going to stop being an apotropos because it's a quid pro quo. He'll do it even if you're making like a shvuah. Nonetheless, the halacha happens to follow neither of these brises. The halacha is like Abashol, that the father appoints him. Do not take a shvuah. The Beis Din appoints him to take a shvuah. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion, where I'll talk about one of the rights of the apotropos. It says lacho v'nas lizkos. He's not allowed to do. We'll talk about in general what the rights of the apotropos are based on that. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.